Hello, 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 everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful week. Finally, it's Friday, and I thank God for that. Coming at you with another tough subject today, and it's very personal to me, and I want to talk about veteran suicide. Um, really, what spurred me to share and make this video is that last night I was talking and online with some people and stuff, and I got really, really triggered. And to be honest, sometimes with my issues that I have with CTE and stuff, I have a real rough time sometimes, and I got real triggered, and I got very suicidal. It's not my first time I've gotten that way, um, and well, I luckily I found a an article that kind of kept me at bay, and it was called "I Survived Combat in Iraq and a Suicide Attempt at Home," but a lot of vets aren't so lucky. From USA Today, dated January the 26th of 2019. I encourage everybody to read that article because I felt that it was very helpful for me. It made me feel not so all alone in the things that I'm dealing with. Um, in the article, it brought out a lot of facts that are true. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but anywhere I think the statistic is somewhere between 20 and 23 veterans every day kill themselves. Something the suicide rate among veterans, I believe, is 35%. Um, so that's 1 in 3. It's a pretty high statistic. And as the guy was sharing, he shared several things. One, he said they lost 9 guys in Iraq um, when they were there, but they lost 15 more to suicide when they came home. And you know, it's a really tough subject. No one people like me every day. I could be one of these 20 something people today. I almost was yesterday. I've almost been on a few times before. This guy talked about he had survived 2 suicide attempts, I believe. Um, myself, I've survived 2 suicide attempts as well. One time, I think it was way back in like 2012. I took a bottle of Flexerils, something like 40 of them. Um, luckily, I survived that. I was like paralyzed in my bed for I don't know somewhere around 2 days. I just couldn't move. Like I heard people moving around and doing stuff in the house. I had a roommate, and I could hear everything, but I couldn't respond. I couldn't talk. I couldn't move. And that's how I was for a period of I don't know a day and a half maybe. I said 2 days, probably more like a day and a half. But it was about 2 days. I was out pretty hard. Um, Another one I attempted. I think it was back in maybe not too long ago, maybe 2017. Attempted to shoot myself, and I had the gun angled up like this against the temple of my head, and when I shot it, actually just skidded off my head and into the ceiling. You know, and the sad thing is, I still get this way. I'm on a boatload of medication to keep me somewhat sane, but with the brain damage I have, and with all the trauma I've had, and all on top of the crazy stuff I've seen in the military. I mean, first horrible thing I saw was the genocide back in like 1990. It was 97 or 98, I believe it was. And all the buddies I've had that aren't around anymore, and that plus my life in itself has been a hard one. It was full of trauma between all those things. But mostly between the military stuff it's really made me struggle, and a lot of guys struggle too. And no vet is really safe. He was sharing about his colonel, a freaking colonel. I mean, it's an O5 for people that don't know. It's hard to make colonel. That's a pretty high rank. That's right below you got colonel, then you have your 1-star general. And the guy had 4 MSMs, or meritorious service medals, which is the one right below the Bronze Star. So it's a pretty high award. I actually have one of them. I don't have a Bronze Star, but I got a buddy who got 3 Bronze Stars for lives he saved because he stepped on a landmine and was blown in half. He was kept alive in a helicopter, half a person, for somewhere around 27 minutes. He was conscious that whole time and screaming. And so anyway, it's hard to get Bronze Stars, and MSM isn't easy either. But this guy had Ford. He committed suicide and was all the way up to Colonel. You know, I really hope people can read this article, because people don't understand. We feel so we don't fit in. We don't feel like we fit in anywhere. We don't feel connected to people. We don't want to be around people. We have a hard time just connecting with people, and didn't used to be so hard for me. It used to be a very easy, very simple thing. I was a very, at my wedding, I think I had somewhere around 400 people. Um, Now I hardly see anybody on a daily basis. Pretty much only my sister. Um, she's been there for me through all this stuff, and many a night I've had she sat up with me while I've gotten suicidal, or I've gone and checked myself into a hospital many times. Um, and she sat there with me in the hospital, and trying to get help. Gone back to the VA trying to get help, and it's not. They never really seemed to do anything. Especially with a lot of us that are disabled veterans, the things we're dealing with. Like, I'm dealing with the effects of CTE, and I get really, really crazy. I say wildly inappropriate things. I get manic. I get pretty crazy. The fact that people think I'm strung out on something, or I'm tripping acid, and the fact is, it's just I got damage to the brain, and I'm not right. And there's some, especially late at night, I'm not right sometimes. I just start getting wildly inappropriate, saying things I shouldn't, sharing things I shouldn't. I don't have a filter, and it's like it's not till after, and I look back when I get back to a good state of being, that I'm like, why the hell did I do all that? Why did I say all that? Why did I share all that? My mind is stuck in the past a lot of the times. I'm stuck in things like, I survived living on the streets, and coming up in gangs and drugs and all that, and I made a big, wide path away from that, but still now my mind sometimes reverts to that, and I'm stuck there, and I'm stuck in other places I shouldn't be. And I don't really talk about the military stuff very often, but it gets really hard, with dealing with that, and the way that people feel about you and they think about you, and being, like I said, being inappropriate and going off and saying things, or like I get dementia. I do crazy, crazy things then. I got banned off Twitter when I had an episode of dementia, and it really affects you, man. It makes you feel like you're just a broken person. I've had like 4 major surgeries to be able to walk again, and I got a titanium rod in my leg. I still have to have another hip replacement. I just had a bunch of back injections, and I'm still in pain, in constant pain every day. And it's hard. I used to keep relationships really well. My whole life, I had a wife. I had always had girlfriends, but since 2011, when I got really hurt and I spent a year in the hospital, I haven't been able to maintain a relationship with a female. Really, they're really the relationships quickly just go astray. I can't emotionally and mentally handle it. It's too much stress and pressure on me. I can't hold somebody else up in a relationship because I can barely hold myself up, which that makes me feel even super more isolated and alone. And when I do inappropriate things and offend people and do crazy stuff, I have to go back afterwards and, like I said, apologize, and that makes me feel more isolated and alone. And the things that I see in my head and the dreams that I have, they would make me feel more isolated and alone. Being on all these medications make me feel more isolated and alone. The fact that I'm in pain in my body all the time and no one ever understands, it makes me feel more isolated and alone. Um, even things like a relationship, like saying, like being in the kind of pain I am in, I can't be physically intimate with a woman very often. It's not something I can do anymore. That was taken away from me, along with a lot of my hobbies. Like I used to fight. I used to train in boxing and train in jujitsu, and I coached wrestling, and I did some MMA, some amateur bouts, and I can't do any of that no more. I used to mountain climb, and go on long hikes. I've done some of the Appalachian Trail in the mountains to the sea. I can't do none of that anymore. I can't really. I used to be really an avid weightlifter and a runner, and I can't do any of that anymore. Really, I could lift weights a little bit, but not anything heavy, and it gets extremely difficult. It's a lot of pain, and I can't run at all anymore. I can walk, and I try to do that. So I've taken up some other physical hobbies, like I do archery. I can handle that, but that's only so much exercise. So again, that makes me feel not connected, and isolated, alone. It's taking up fishing has really helped me because it's something I can do alone and not feel so so rough. I It keeps a lot of the stuff at bay for me, being in nature and just the calm of the lake or the sound of the river, the water flowing down the rocks, or you know the excitement of catching a fish, getting one on the end of your rod and pulling it in. It's one of the few things that's exciting to me anymore, and it's also it's highly therapeutic for me. I used to be an avid guitar player too, but it's hard for me to stand up on a stage. I used to have bands, and for years and years and years and years, I did some USO shows, and I actually got some. I have some tracks out there out on Capitol Records for some different musicians. I did some studio work as a studio musician, but with my disconnection with people and my not being outward, I don't really go and do the music scene or something. That's something I lost as well, and so there's just times that it gets really, really difficult, and I get in a bad place. And um, one of the reasons I started making this video blogs is for that reason, to give myself an outlet, just to share. If nobody listened, if one person listened, maybe I could educate, or maybe I can inform one person. So that's all you can do is try to inform people, try to make a difference. And if you're successful, great. And if you fail, at least you tried. So um, still in a rough place today. Fortunately, I'm going to get my daughter. The one time that I'm normal, I have everything together, is when I see my kid. It's like I don't know what it is, but something about my mind and my brain. It functions on that level with her. Maybe it's my heart or my parental instinct or the love that I have for her that keeps me together. I don't know. All I know is that the only time I'm good and normal and on track and on target and on point is when I'm being a dad. Um, Times I fall apart the most is when I have to take her back to her mom and I'm without her. Then I fall apart real bad. Um, she is my purpose for living. If I didn't have her, I'd be dead. I'd have no reason to keep going. Uh, I wouldn't have failed suicide attempts. I would have kept doing it till I got it right. And fortunately, I survived those attempts. Fortunately, I'm alive today. It's the thing that one of the big things that keeps me is I don't want to do that to her, but sometimes I get scared because my mind gets in such a place that I don't care. I just want to go. I just don't want to be here anymore. And it's humbling, it's humiliating. It's not going to win me any friends or any awards or nothing, but I'm out here just being honest today and try to inform people. There's a lot of people exactly like me that we don't know how we're going to make it through some days. We don't know from one day to the next, man, how we're going to fight those feelings off and fight that darkness off. But for the ones that are still here, all my brothers out there, man, God bless y'all. I send my love to each and every one of you. Hang in there. If anybody watches this video and needs somebody to talk to, man, hit me up in the comments. I'll give you my personal phone number or email address. And anytime you need to call or talk to somebody, man, I'll be here for you. If you're on Facebook, there's a community group called Veteran to Veteran, and it's a community support group for people like myself. And on there, every day I go on, there's somebody just like me that wants to end it all, and it's wrestling not to, and it's reaching out. So I know there's been some days they saved my life, just having one person that gave a shit, somebody just to talk to, somebody that I didn't feel so alone. And so if you feel alone, that's a place where maybe you should reach out to and find some people to talk to. Just like me, they'll give you their telephone number. They'll do whatever they can for you, and they're there to help you. And I'm here to help you if I can. So I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Uh, if you have a veteran in your life somewhere around, show them a little kindness, man. You know, he he probably feels they don't we don't reach out, we don't talk to people, but a little bit of kindness, man, can make all the difference. You might save a life that day, and I hope that you decide to do that. So have a wonderful day. God bless, and take care.